Hello and welcome to the Snowboard Designer Guide. I assume you already downloaded Unity 3D and that you downloaded this level editor project that I created. So first you need to extract all the files. And then you need to open it in Unity. Here we go. Alright, so let's get started. This is the project layout, but you only need to concern yourself with the prefabs and the scenes. So let's start by opening up the example scene. And this is the scene I created that's in the game right now. And it has all the assets that I placed and the terrain sculpt. So we're going to create a new level from scratch. So I remove all the unnecessary stuff, the tools and the placeables. And I'm gonna reset the terrain, make it completely flat and remove all the splat maps. But I will keep all the other objects, they are necessary. Okay, we're done here, and to see these icons in game you need to click that 3D gizmos. And now you can easily find the custom level, and here you need to set up the output directory and give it a level name. So here I'm just temporarily placing these spawns somewhere in the scene. And the level camera is needed as well. So don't remove it. It's actually where the when you go to camp it will render from the level camera. And here we can just have a look in the prefab scene. These are all the objects that you can place and the tools. And here you can either copy things from the prefab scenes or just drag them out from the project view. It doesn't matter. So I'll just remove that scene. I know what's there. So to go through the project structure a little bit, we have the kickers, we have some placeables, we have rails that you can, if you click one, you can preview it, and we have more rails. And a few rocks, and this is not how it's gonna look when you export it to the game, so just be aware of that. And tools are some useful things when you're creating parks and features, so this can deform the terrain, so you just place it in the scene and you mold the terrain after it. I will show you later. So for now we are gonna have a look at the terrain. And first of all, leave these layers. It has to be 4 layers. so you can't add more layers. And there is an extension component on the terrain as well. With some handy tools, I will use them later as well and show you. You can generate splat maps from terrain, and you can smooth out the terrain to make it work better in game. So, and as for the layers here, the first one, it's the deep snow, and the second one is packed snow, and in game it will blend between two different textures. And the third layer is some snow variation. And finally we have some rocks. And this, again, when you export it, it doesn't export these textures. So you can change the textures, but when it's rendered in-game, it will use the in-game textures. So that's it for the terrain. So now let's get started painting, or rather sculpting. So you just select the brush, and you set the brush size, and you can set the opacity, and you just sculpt away. This I will just make a very quick example here, but I'm just adding some noise, changing between different brushes to get some interesting shapes. And as for it's hard to imagine the scale of this before you actually drop into the level. So I will just finish up some stuff here and then hit export all, so we can actually test the level. And it's a good idea to test it often. Oh, and like I was mentioning before, there's a smoothing script. As you can see here, it's very noisy. So select the terrain, then go down to and hit smooth terrain, and this will remove this. And you can hit smooth terrain a couple of times. This early when we're sculpting, you can not concerned with details at all at this point. And yeah, but before we export, just set up these spawn points so we don't spawn underneath the terrain. So if you hit Ctrl Shift F, it will copy the what you're looking at and your position. And now I'm hitting export. And it takes a little while, but when it's done, you can check in the console window down here, and it will spit out some text telling you what textures is exported. So I had the game running in the background, and I discovered a bug here, because it should show up, but it doesn't. So I had to restart the game. So here I restarted it, and now I can see it. Nice and fluffy. So I load it, and it takes a little while. It takes a little longer to load these custom levels than the normal levels. And yay, we're in our level. And now it's time to start just verifying that it's working, and see that you have some good speeds and stuff. So yeah, this one seems to be working okay. So we go back to the editor again. Eventually. Okay, so here we're back in the editor, and actually I noticed some bugs while I was testing it with the deep snow is not rendering correctly. So, but that will be fixed. I need to update the game. And yeah, as you can see here, snow cover normal threshold. Now I'm using the tool generate splat map from terrain, and it will automatically paint some rocks, but it will also override if you painted any other color or layer with the terrain, it will override that, so be aware of that. So this is more like when you're starting out, when you're feeling happy about your sculpt, you can just hit generate splat map from terrain, and it will do some automatic rocks. So, but it doesn't look that good, so now I have to start going and detail this stuff. I will speed up this process, but still I'm just doing a very quick example here. So what you would want to do is go in and paint maybe some or use a tool that will do it automatically, like add noise like I'm doing right here to the rocks, and then smooth out the tops. There was a tool, but it didn't export correctly when I created the level editor scripts. And I accidentally created another terrain there, if you noticed, and that causes some problems later on. But now the plan is to create a small park section here. So I'm painting some stacked snow or packed snow where I want the trails to be. And this is just a very rough sketch. And so I have an idea where I want this, and now I'm gonna go in and start adding some features. And you can paint this with the terrain painting tools, or I think there are some stamp tools or custom brushes that you can create. But these tools also come in handy. It's just you drag it out into the scene, and it will shape the terrain from the mesh. And as I was recording this, I found another little bug in this project where it didn't work. But also, like I mentioned, I created a secondary terrain, so it got confused over that. But I will fix this issue in the uploaded project, so once you get this, it will be fixed. But if you already downloaded the project, you have to do this. Select all the meshes in the tools folder and make them read and writable. So as you can see now, it's working. And here I am trying to stamp this one, but this particular mesh didn't work with that setting, strength from color. So if you select the tool, there are some settings for the mesh terrain molder. So untick the one that says strength from color. Then it should work. Yeah, and here I'm just now I'm selecting the smooth brush, and I'm starting to connect all of this feature that I stamped on the terrain. And here I'm just adding some more stamps, and that one. And now I'm just gonna add some kickers and placeables and make the level a bit more interesting. And I'm using a ground align tool as well. It's on the kickers. It has been added already, but you can add it to any game object. It will just ground transform, and it will rotate the normal to align with the terrain. And some fences and more fences. Of course, and a little hut so we can keep warm. And again, we set up the lobby camera and adjust the start spawn a little bit. More fences. And we hit export all. And we start the game again and go to travel and load our new level. And there we go. Our new level is completed. So now it's time to start testing it out and see all the places where things went wrong. So for this part, speed wasn't that bad. You get some airtime. And yeah, I think that's about it for the process. That's how you create custom levels for the snowboard game. And yeah, if you got any questions, I think the Discord is the best place. And yeah, good luck.